August 12, 2002. A seemingly ordinary summer day on Hainan Island, a place known for its beautiful beaches, rich culture, and peaceful villages. But what began as an idyllic day would soon spiral into chaos. In the midst of it all stood Dr. Wei Jian, a respected epidemiologist, and Li Hua, a local health worker, who unknowingly found themselves at the center of one of the most mysterious and terrifying outbreaks the world had ever seen. This is the chilling story of the Hainan Island outbreak. In early August 2002, local reports from a remote fishing village on Hainan Island mentioned a strange illness. It started with a few fishermen returning from the sea, with high fevers, severe headaches, and rashes. The local clinic, run by Li Hua, had seen cases of fever before, but nothing quite like this. Li Hua, always diligent, prescribed the usual remedies, assuming it was nothing more than heat stroke or a viral infection. But within 2 days, the patient's conditions worsened. Violent seizures, intense pain, and terrifying hallucinations soon followed. Panic began to spread among the villagers. Some thought it was a curse from the sea, others believed it was a rare tropical disease. It wasn't until the first death that the authorities took notice. When reports of the mysterious illness reached the regional health office, Dr. Wei Jian was immediately dispatched to investigate. Known for his sharp mind and calm demeanor, Dr. Jian believed this could be an isolated case of food poisoning or a viral outbreak that could be easily contained. He had no idea what awaited him. Upon arriving in the village, Dr. Jian met Li Hua, who briefed him on the worsening situation. By now, over a dozen people had fallen ill. The symptoms had grown even more bizarre. Victims experienced skin lesions, and some complained of hearing voices that weren't there. Dr. Jian's initial tests showed nothing. There were no signs of common viruses, no bacterial infections, and no known pathogens. By the end of the week, what was once confined to a small village began spreading to neighboring towns. Hospitals became overwhelmed. People reported seeing shadows moving in their peripheral vision, and soon after, they too would succumb to the mysterious illness. Dr. Jian's team set up quarantine zones, but the illness defied containment. As panic spread, many villagers fled to the mountains, believing that the island itself was cursed. The authorities, however, declared martial law in certain areas to prevent mass exodus. What disturbed Dr. Jian most wasn't just the speed of the outbreak, but the whispers. In nearly every case, as victims slipped closer to death, they began to murmur the same phrase: "The spirits are angry." But spirits weren't something science could explain. As more people died, the villagers' stories became eerily similar. They spoke of seeing ghostly figures at night, of feeling hands on their skin when no one was there. Some reported waking up with scratch marks, as though they had been attacked in their sleep. Fear spread faster than the illness itself. Dr. Jian, now desperate for answers, reached out to international health organizations, but they too were baffled. Every known test came back negative. Whatever was killing these people, it seemed to have no earthly explanation. And then, in the dead of night, Dr. Jian experienced it for himself. He was awakened by a strange sensation, like a cold breeze on his neck, though the air was still. In the corner of his room he saw it, a shadowy figure standing silently. He blinked, and it was gone. But the terror stayed. As the outbreak continued to claim lives, Dr. Jian started to question whether this was something more than a medical mystery. Li Hua, who had been by his side throughout, began to crumble under the weight of it all. "It's the spirits of the sea," she said one night. "We've angered them." Dr. Jian, a man of science, didn't want to believe it. But with no explanation in sight, he started to wonder. Was there something in the water? Something ancient that had been disturbed? By the end of September, nearly half the village was gone. Dr. Jian and his remaining team made a last-ditch effort to save those who hadn't yet shown symptoms. They tested the water, the soil, even the air for toxins. Nothing conclusive. But the whispers continued, the shadows lingered, and the illness raged on. Then, without warning, the outbreak stopped. As quickly as it had begun, the illness seemed to vanish. The survivors were left traumatized, haunted by the events they had witnessed, unsure if the spirits had finally been appeased, or if they were merely waiting to strike again. To this day, no one knows what truly happened on Hainan Island. Dr. Wei Zhan's official report cited an unknown viral outbreak, but he himself was never the same. Some say he never returned to the mainland, choosing instead to live out his days on the island, searching for answers that would never come. Li Hua, like many others, left the island soon after the outbreak. She never spoke of it again. But the stories lingered, passed down through the generations, about the strange illness, the shadows in the night, and the spirits that may still haunt the shores of Hainan Island. Was it a viral outbreak, a curse from the sea, or something else entirely? The truth remains buried on Hainan Island, locked away in the whispers of those who lived to tell the tale, and in the silence of those who didn't. Thank you for joining me today as we uncovered the mystery of the Hainan Island outbreak. Please comment below and tell me what you think happened, or what caused this unfortunate pandemic. Until next time, stay safe and remember, some mysteries are better left unsolved.